Well, good evening. Welcome to the Brothers-in-law. We are -1 tonight. Not sure what's going on with Mike. I'm sure he's having some technical difficulty, but he'll jump on here shortly. But want to go ahead and take the time and welcome you all to the Brothers-in-law. I am Corey. I am a former uh, Virginia State Trooper and also retired Navy Chief Petty Officer with 21 years of service. Go Blue. And Mike and I do our YouTube channel to talk to you about police involved shooting incidents that take place throughout this country and whether or not they're justified shootings. And we also give you our opinion, what we think happened, and is it what a reasonable officer would go through. So, those of you who are joining us tonight, we thank you. And go ahead and hit that like, share, and subscribe button. Those of you who are on the show with me tonight, we got a good little video for you tonight. And really, the main focus of this video is just to show you how fast an officer has to make a decision and how we can't just take uh, every call for service very lightly. Welcome, Mike. And
All right.
so here tonight, it's our hope that you get a better understanding that when news media come out and say, hey, this was a routine traffic stop, or this was just a minor incident. That's not how officers look at it. I can tell you on a lot of calls for services that I've been on, my heart is always racing 1,000 miles per hour because we don't know what's going to happen. There are plenty of times when I went on a traffic stop, Mike, and everything's cool. I go back with the ticket, and then next thing the individual, the citizen, flips the script, and I'm like, whoa, where did this happen? So I don't like it when I hear news media always say, well, it was a simple traffic stop. No, that's not how it works. Police officers don't like that term when we hear media say that. So welcome, Mom and Stacy and Goat and Tone. Uh, Welcome, Mike. I see you had a little technical difficulty.
Yeah, a little bit there, but it's all worked out. It's all worked out. I'm good to go
Yeah,
now.
yeah. We good. We good. So this video tonight is about a jaywalker. Uh, Police got the call for service that a man was, I guess he was jaywalking in the area, and police go to approach him, make contact with him, find out, hey, what's his problem? Why is he jaywalking? And as you'll see, it definitely turns south. You got any comments you want to say, ma'am? I just did our introduction. Welcome everybody, but I let you take a minute to
No, not
get a
really. I just
shot.
say, this jaywalking thing, a lot of times people say, well, jaywalking is a real light violation. Yeah, it's a light violation, but keep in mind the reason why they have jaywalking laws is people have been getting hit with cars. Okay. And this particular call or this particular enforcement stop was, like you said, Corey, on a jaywalking thing. And apparently this guy was close to being hit. So, jaywalking is a legitimate violation that needs enforcement, and especially in different areas of the city. You know what I'm saying? It's not something that you just blow over.
Right.
There's a reason why they have jaywalking laws.
Right. It's the reason why it's a law, right? All
Yeah.
right. So without further ado, don't forget to hit that like, share, and subscribe button, whether you're on Facebook watching us or on YouTube watching us. Hit that like button for us. All right. So without further ado, we'll go ahead and jump into this video. It's about a little over 3 minutes, about 3 minutes and 39 seconds. As usual, we'll watch the video. If something prudent stands out, we'll stop the video, make our comment, but we'll try our best to withhold our comments to the end. And this is graphic, so just be warned.
Put your hands on your head, please. Why? Because it looks like you have a gun right there.
On Friday, June 24th, 2022, Mesa police officers patrolling on East University Avenue witnessed a man jaywalking in the street and nearly get hit by a car. Officers stopped the man, identified as 54-year-old Paul Newman.
You take a seat right here, man. We're talking to you because you jaywalked, man. You almost got hit. I don't know if you noticed.
The officer noticed a bulge on Newman's right side. He alerted the other officer who was with him.
I did it straight across. Though. Hey, do you have a gun on you? No, sir. I did it straight across like you said. What's that on the left on the left hand side? Don't reach for it. Put your hands on your head.
The officer told Newman that it looked like he had a gun and pointed to his right side.
Man, head, please. Why? Because it looks like you have a gun right there. And if that's not it, don't reach gun. Okay, chill out. Don't shoot me. I got. What do you have? I got a gun. Don't make sure.
Here's that video again and slow down so you can better follow the movements.
Why? Because it looks like you have a gun right there. And if that's not it,
it's slow motion now. They see the gun. There it is. I mean, that officer got really close to grabbing it.
It's kind of blurry, but that's it. The gun in his left with his hand, right?
Yeah.
What do you have? I got a gun. Don't make sure.
So I'll wait to make my comment.
All unreasonable movements by a suspect, especially if you have a gun.
Right. So that circle is indicating where the gun is at.
Upon seeing the flash and hearing the gunshot from Newman's gun, the second officer pulled his duty weapon and fired multiple rounds. Simultaneously, the officer that had approached Newman saw the gun in his hand, began backing up, and fired his duty weapon. Both officers took
So the suspect did get a shot
for
off.
backup.
1998.
Yeah.
South of 81st.
When those officers
Get back in the
arrived,
vehicle.
an action team was formed, and Newman was giving commands. Newman did not respond to the commands, so a less lethal beanbag round was deployed.
Hey, listen to me. Do not reach for the gun. Do you understand me? Do not reach for the gun. Roll away from the gun.
So, and that's pretty much it. Then they, just a little standoff there, Mike, and then they get him into custody. But my biggest thing with this was, I mean, how fast it turned from, obviously they noticed the bulge in his shirt, and that's always indicated right there, folks. When we see that bulge, that's automatic. Hey, man, what is that? I'm automatically gonna assume it's a gun, and 9 times out of 10, Mike, it is a gun, right? And the last thing you always want to do is when you hear the officer say, "Don't reach for it," don't put your hands up, right? You reach for that gun. It's game on, right? I'm not gonna let you get that gun out and have the opportunity a shot off at me.
And folks, like Corey said it, if I see a bulge under your shirt, I'm going to assume it is a firearm. I will treat you as though I believe you have a firearm. Okay. And the reason that is because we want to, it's better to stay in front of the situation than behind. You see what I'm saying? Right. So if it's not a gun, well, we can easily verify that as long as you follow our commands and do what I'm telling you to do, move how I'm telling you to move, or don't move how I'm telling you not to move. You see what I'm saying? And a police officer's line of work, we have to assume the worst and work our way back. You see what I'm saying? Right. When it comes to things like this, especially. That's basic training type stuff right there. You see a bulge in someone's waistband or on the side of them or in the back of them in their pants or something. It could be a weapon. You should assume it's a weapon until you confirm that it's not a weapon. You see what I'm saying? In this case, it was a weapon. Now this guy was clearly making moves, Corey, that it was not logical. It was clear. The officer told him to put his hands up on top of his head. He didn't want to do that. Red flag. Okay, I see a bulge. I'm telling you to put your hands on top of your head, and you don't. You refuse. You don't do that. That's a red flag to me that, something ain't right here. This must be a gun, and this dude might be trying to pull it on me.
Right. Because that's the thing with most law enforcement, Mike, and at least for my experience, is that the right people that are supposed to have the guns have no problem with complying with what you're saying, because they value that right, that constitutional right of bearing an arm. So they're not going to do anything to jeopardize that. I've noticed in every traffic stop that I ever been on, if they were carrying a weapon, they're quick to let me know where it was. Hey, troop, what you want me to do? You want me to leave my hands outside the window, or you want me to leave my hands on the steering? I mean, they're not wanting to do anything stupid to get themselves in trouble. The people I worry about, the ones that ain't supposed to have the gun, that got the gun, and then don't want to comply with your instructions. That's the fear I have. And this gentleman here clearly didn't want to do that, Mike. Like you said, those are two big red flags.
Absolutely. And here's the other thing. That's common sense. If you have a firearm, like you said, Corey, people who legally have firearms, they know that everybody knows you don't go reaching for a firearm when you got the cops there. You don't go reaching for that, because I'm going to assume you trying to pull it on me. You don't go reaching for it and say, see, here's my firearm. You don't do that. Okay. It is very important that you follow the commands of the officer as far as your movements go, because I don't want to perceive you getting ready to pull that gun on me. Let's say you ain't getting ready to pull that gun on me, but if you make a move that a reasonable officer could believe that you're getting ready to pull that gun on me, that's bad. That could be bad. Okay.
Very bad.
That officer's perception is everything in that situation. Okay. And what an officer doesn't want to do is perceive wrong and get shot. I'm never going to assume that you don't have a gun. I'm never going to assume that you are not going to reach for that gun. And I'm never going to assume that you are not going to shoot me with that gun. I'm always going to assume the opposite. You see what I'm saying, Corey?
Yeah.
Until I prove otherwise. Red flags, folks. And you don't comply. If the smallest movements can change that situation. Like I said before, the first red flag, as far as his movements goes, was he didn't want to put his hands on top of his head. That's a red flag. That's one of the biggest red flags right there.
Well, and some would say, Mike, that he really wasn't a threat because he was actually kneeling down. Why not just leave him down in that squatted position, or just have him sit down on the ground from where he was? Well, that still doesn't mean he's not a threat, because he's kneeling. He's still got a weapon on him. He don't need to be standing up to pull the gun out and shoot you, right? At this point, it's about officer safety, and it's about gaining control of him and getting him detained so that they can remove that weapon. But then you move forward from that, he then doesn't want to do that, and he does start to resist. He does get the gun out, but I believe he misfired. He didn't try to shoot at them, but again, that officer at that moment is not saying, "Oh, well, he wasn't trying to shoot us." Now I'm taking that as a threat.
You pulling that gun out, you getting shot. If I tell you not to pull that gun out and you do anyway, that's rash, that's logical, that's reasonable for me to believe that you intend to do me harm. If I'm telling you not to grab it, not to reach for it, and you do anyway, and not only do you reach for it, you pull it out. Okay, boom. You know what I'm saying? It's important that you follow in commands
and stay calm, right? The acronym CALM: comply, answer questions, listen, and move on. So what if he wasn't able to be legally carrying. So what? Worst thing that happened there, he would got the gun confiscated, gotten a summons, a civil matter, improperly carrying, and go to court, pay the fine. Or if he was a convicted felon, maybe then that's a different story. He would have been going to jail. But either or, he wouldn't been shot up. Now, thank goodness the man didn't die. He got shut up. Now, I counted probably 10 to 12 shots. Brought about a dozen or so shots out of there, Mike.
Yeah.
So, again, could you say it was excessive? No, not if you shot off at me. I'm going to unload. It's 15 rounds in my magazine. I'm going to do a magazine dump until you are down and the threat is stopped.
And as a matter of fact, you ain't even got to shoot at me. The point is, I'm trying to take you out before you have the opportunity to take me out. I'm not going to wait until you pull the trigger. You see what I'm saying? Right. You grabbing that gun can be enough in many officers' minds because I'm telling you not to grab it. You see what I'm saying? That doesn't add up in an officer's mind. I'm telling you not to grab it, and you grab it anyway. And you pull it out.
Right.
You very well might get shot in that situation. It is not unreasonable to think for an officer to think, oh, he just ain't following my commands, but I don't think he's gonna shoot me. Well, we can't afford to think that way. You see what I'm saying?
That's
because
wrong
officers
attitude.
can get officers can get killed, can get shot thinking that way. No, you pulling it out, I'm going to assume you mean to use it.
Right.
You see what I'm saying?
And keep in mind, Mike, this is stemming from a jaywalk, right? What is a jaywalk? A simple citation, right? Nothing.
Right. Simple infraction. Minor
infraction. I mean, or you may even just get it warned. Hey, dude, stop doing this around here, so people stop calling in on us, and we have to come respond to this. And because cops know it's a stupid call for service. Like, I don't want to go to no jaywalking call. I mean, it's ridiculous, dude. Just use the crosswalk, right? But now you're taking and see that's where I get a little hot under the collar because now people are saying, oh, all this just for jaywalking. Well, no, the jaywalking is now gone. We're dealing with resisting and not being compliant, right?
Yeah,
and dealing with a deadly weapon. Jaywalking is non-existent now. That's that we don't even need to bring that up.
That right? I think, Corey, I think a lot of citizens don't understand that aspect at an officer's mind. In that moment, when I see you got a bulge, I'm not even thinking about the fact that you jaywalked and that's why I stopped you. I've moved on from that. Now I'm focused on this bulge in your waistband because I'm lawfully detaining you. Okay. And now I see something that could be a safety issue for me or both of us. Right. You see what I'm saying? So my attention is not on jaywalking. He didn't get shot because he was jaywalking. You see what I'm saying? He got shot because he had a firearm.
What you mean he didn't get shot because he was jaywalking?
He didn't get shot because he was jaywalking. It all started, the contact started because he was jaywalking, granted. But that's not why he got shot. And people need to understand that. He got shot because he had a firearm, pulling a firearm out on an officer. And that's officer. Like you said, Corey, you counted 10, 12 shots at least. That's how fast you can get rounds off from a handgun, folks, especially in an officer's mind who believes he or she might get shot. I can get a lot of rounds off, and I'm like you said, Corey. You said, "Man, I'm dumping magazine dump. I'm pulling that trigger until you are down on the ground, no longer a threat. If that takes 15 rounds, okay,
all the way until the threat is stopped.
I'm not counting bullets. I'm not thinking, oh, I can only shoot 2 bullets. Let me shoot 2 and see what happens. Nah, folks, that's not how it works. You shoot until you are done, until he is done and no longer a threat. And that perception, Corey, could be different for every officer. I'll give you that. You see what I'm saying?
For sure.
But nonetheless, 10 rounds in a situation like that is nothing. I can easily see squeezing off 10 rounds for that.
Oh, yeah. Easy 10, 15. Because, I mean, you just shot at me, and now I have to stop you before you get myself, my shift partner, or you get an innocent bystander, right? So those are all things we're thinking about. Okay, it ain't really just about me. That's what we signed up for. Well, we didn't sign up to be bullet catchers, but we signed up to protect and serve. And so I need to make sure that you don't hurt anybody else, including myself, because at the end of the day, I'm going home. At that point, you can't put policy on how many rounds an officer should shoot at somebody. The object is we shoot to stop the threat. And we need to keep saying that and keep saying that until people understand that. There's no such thing. Oh, he could have shot him in the leg, or he should have shot him in the hand and shot the gun out of his hand. No. If you've never been in contact before, there's no way you're going to shoot somebody who's moving and shoot the weapon out of their hand. That's Hollywood. All right. This is real world.
Shooting you in the leg is not going to stop you from shooting me. You see what I'm saying? Shooting in the hand is not going to stop you from shooting me. Okay. That's what. Let's talk about jaywalking for a minute, because I've heard the issue with small violations, if you will, Corey. People always say all this for a small violation, for something simple and petty. Jaywalking, although it's small, you should look at it this way. Officers look at it this way. There are some areas when I was an officer, there were some areas in the city where we did, like you said, Corey, we got complaints from citizens of people crossing the street outside the crosswalk, whether it's because they crossed in front of their car and somebody gets angry. That guy just ran out in the street in front of me, right? There are a lot of areas in some cities where it's busy enough traffic on the roadway to where jaywalking, people could get hit by a car. Okay, there are various reasons why officers enforce jaywalking. For reasons like I just said, maybe it's a simple traffic violation in an area where they received a lot of complaints. Okay, especially at nighttime. Jaywalking can be big if you got somebody jetting out into the street in the middle of the street at nighttime. And in this situation, it's my understanding that these officers were actually doing jaywalking kind of enforcement in this area, and that's how they got this guy. So although it's a small violation, it is a violation, and it is a violation that should be enforced. You see what I'm saying? Are there ulterior motives that officers can have while doing jaywalking enforcement? Absolutely. Corey, you know how we always say an officer's job is not just to enforce the law that is in front of him. It is also his job to investigate if there are any other laws being broken. So there are times when I've done jaywalking enforcement, and for me, it was a regular thing for me to run your name in the system to check if you got warrants on probation or anything like that. A lot of times, some small violation like that may be the only way I can contact somebody who is on probation, parole, or maybe violating their probation, or maybe wanted for something, have some warrants or something like that. Nothing wrong with that, folks.
And Mike, I would just piggyback off of that too and say it's not always when we do that just to find out if they have a criminal activity going on. It could also be because they've been reported missing.
And absolutely,
it's making sure there's nothing wrong. Because we don't know. You might get a bolo out of a missing person. This guy might fit that description. That's why you're trying to run the information. So it's not always necessarily about, to see if you have warrants or any outstanding citations or things of that nature when the officer is doing or asking for your information. But I just want to throw that in there.
No, absolutely. I mean, there have been plenty of times where I've stopped someone for a minor traffic violation, and turns out that they were reported as a runaway. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. Whether it was a teenager or whether it was an adult, reported as a missing person. You see what I'm saying? Well, we would have never found or known that unless we stop them for a minor traffic violation. You see what I'm saying? So I think minor traffic violations are twofold. You know, they not only are just to enforce the violation itself, but it gives officers an opportunity to investigate anything further, anything that might have been missed. You see what I'm saying? Maybe you do got some drugs on you. Well, that jaywalking violation is enough for me to stop and detain you. You see what I'm saying? And maybe you are on probation for something, and I can search you. I can't find that out unless I stopped you for jaywalking or any other minor traffic violation. You see what I'm saying? And that's, folks, that's normal. That's how police are supposed to do. Remember, we don't just look at the violation in front of us. We look at anything else that we could have missed. What you say, Corey?
I can't argue with that.
Yeah,
I think you froze up.
I
say you can't argue with that, man. You know, now the crazy thing is, Mike, it's like, how come we didn't hear about this story? Like, should this not have been plastered all over, you know, the media? Oh, the police shoot a man, you know, for jaywalking. Like, why didn't this get plastered all over mainstream media?
I think you already know the answer to that.
Right. Because they'd have you believe it. Now, again, this was a white man, Paul Newman, not the salad dressing Paul Newman, actor Paul Newman. There's another guy, Paul Newman, who happened to be white, who happened to be shot by 2 other white police officers. So again, you know, so there was no need to make this about a race issue. And these things are happening every day. You just never hear about them because it doesn't fit a certain narrative. But again, this is all, as they would have you to believe, because of a simple infraction. A guy, exactly, Stacey. It didn't fit the narrative. All because he was jaywalking and he gets shot, and he was shot every bit of a dozen times. I think in my count. So, you know, nobody's crying excessive force. Nobody's out here burning down streets and protesting, you know, for jaywalking, right? And the guy was a career criminal. He's sitting in jail. He survived this, thank God, you know. But this goes to show how fast an officer has to make a decision. They're not thinking about, oh, well, I better be cautious because he's black, or I better be cautious because he's white, or I better be cautious because he's Latino or Filipino or Chinese. Now, when you got a gun, I see that black gun. That's the only color I see, because your skin color is not going to kill me. That gun is going to kill me. And I need to make sure you don't have the opportunity to pull that trigger, right? So again, a lot of these shootings that we see take place. That's why Mike and I, we like to put race on the back burner. Let's see what we got first. There's a reason the officer is shot, right? It ain't had nothing to do because that tail light was out. Were you following our acronym of CALM? Complying, answering questions, listening, and had the ability to move on. That's what we're looking at. Let's look at that. Did they follow the acronym, Mike? In this video here, Mike, and to our viewers, y'all answer this question. Did this guy follow our acronym of CALM?
Violated the very first one. That's
right.
He didn't even get any further than that. He missed the comply part. Okay.
You know what I mean?
And you know, people, you know, we always say we beat that horse. You know what I'm saying? We beat that horse. Comply, because comply is very important. I mean, it is more important than people realize. A situation like this gives you an idea of the things that may be on an officer's mind in that particular situation. You know, safety number one. These little things that the average citizen may not be thinking about. You see what I'm saying? They're not thinking about the red flag of him not putting his hands on his head. You see what I'm saying? They're not thinking about the red flag of him reaching for something behind his back or on his side after being told not to reach. Those things are very big and blaring in an officer's mind on this kind of stop. You see what I'm saying? They could mean life or death in that officer's mind. Okay. When I tell you to not reach for something and you do it anyway, I'm thinking of that as this could be life or death for me, because you're reaching for something after I'm clearly telling you not to reach for it. Matter of fact, this guy knew that this officer believed he had a firearm, but yet he still reached for it. You see what I'm saying? You can't get any bolder and any more signs than that to an officer to let that officer know this is a life or death choice you're making here. You see what I'm saying? I'm telling you to do this and you doing something different. I'm thinking that you might kill me right now. Right. You see, that's how an officer's thinking, folks. And that's how you should be taking that officer's commands that serious. You know what I'm saying, Gordon?
And until, like you said, until we're able to prove otherwise that you have no weapons and you are of not a threat to that law enforcement officer. Hey, welcome everybody. Jesus love you. Welcome. Welcome. Thank you all for joining us. Tonight we're talking about jaywalking. Gentleman actually back up. It was call for service for a gentleman that was jaywalking. This happened in Mesa, Arizona, a couple weeks ago, and he had a weapon on him, and the officers told him not to reach for it. He failed to comply with the officers. He pulled the weapon, shot a round off, but wasn't intended to shoot at the officers. But again, as we stated, it doesn't matter. You touch that weapon, you pull that weapon out of your holster, right then and there, it's game on. As soon as you put a hand on that weapon, it's game on. I don't want you to get that weapon out, because guess what you're gonna do when you get that weapon out? You're not getting it out. Oh, here you go. No, I told you not to touch it. Yeah. So here's
I don't have time to estimate or guesstimate what I think you might do with that weapon. You see what I'm saying?
Here's another question, Mike. How many times should the officer tell you not to touch that weapon before they take action? What do you all think, folks? Viewers, comment below. How many times should an officer tell you not to touch that weapon before the officer takes action? Because I usually had a three-time rule. Jesus love you says once, and you're right. That really depends on the officer themselves. Me, I like giving people a chance. You know, I'll give you 3. Hey, don't touch it. Hey, don't touch it. Hey, last time I'm telling you, man, don't touch. That's it. Game on. I'm going hands on, or I'm drawing down on you to get you to comply with me. But there's no set policy on that. You can't. There's some things you cannot put policy on, and you can't. I won't say make law on it. That's foolish, because now you're really putting that officer's life at jeopardy. For example, what do you think will happen if they said, "Oh, you must give them 6 warnings before you do anything, and they must touch the weapon and pull the weapon out of the holster before you can do anything"? How many deaths will there be?
That's unrealistic. That's not. It's kind of like you able to slow down real time in real time and make those decisions. You see what I'm saying? In real time, you might have a second to make that decision of what you're going to do. For me, it obviously depends on the circumstance, but it is not unreasonable for me to say at one time, and you reach for it, I'm not going to wait to see if you shoot me. That's what people need to realize. I'm not going to wait for you to get one off on me. You see what I'm saying? I'm going to get one off on you before you even have a chance to get one off on me. That's how an officer is thinking in that situation, because he's already had too many red flags in the beginning that built up to that moment.
Right.
So there's nothing left for me to think other than you getting ready to shoot me, you getting ready to harm me in some way.
Right. Right. And you're not going to take that chance. And this is why we say, you know, things evolve really fast. It goes quick. I mean, your escalation of force. I mean, you had no time to pull out a taser. In fact, you got a gun. I'm not going to taser. I'm one up, and I'm going to match you with my gun.
Yeah.
Right. Because you got a gun. I'm not going to pull a taser because you got a gun. No, that's suicide. I'm pulling it out. And you don't have to pull the weapon out and fully extend to get a round off. Right. He could get that out and just be at waist level and get a shot off. So the officers only have a split second to make that decision. You know, and this is why these things happen. Now, are there bad shots, Mike? Yeah, absolutely.
Sure.
And on this show, you know, Mike and I will call them out where we see them. But in my opinion, this was a good shoot. You know, there's no need to protest this. This was a good shoot all day. Like you said, Mike, it was too many red flags. And then you know, you're gonna start resisting and get into a brief little struggle and then ultimately reach for the weapon. Yeah, I have to say it was a good shoot.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's a good shoot too. I mean, you know, the guy got a gun, folks. If you got a lump on your side, you best believe that officer is thinking that that's a weapon that you could use. So it's very important that you follow any instructions that officer is giving you. No need to be argumentative. No need to think, hey, no, it's not a gun. Look, come, let me show you. No. What happens is when you don't move and you got your hands up like I'm directing you to do, I'll go and check myself to make sure it's not a weapon. I don't need you to do it, and I don't need you to pull nothing out and show me. I need to be the one to go over to you, pat you down, feel what it is, and then I can confirm myself whether or not it's a weapon. In this case, it was a weapon. It was a firearm, you know, and luckily those officers got enough rounds off to stop that threat. You know what I'm saying? Right. That's the only way I can look at it. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, again, we'll tell you, we're telling you what would be in an officer's mind in a situation like this, a reasonable officer's mind in a situation like this, so that our viewers could at least get some kind of insight of how an officer is thinking leading up to something like this.
Right.
You know?
And this is why you have to approach every situation on a high level. You can't go and into any call for service with your guard down. You always want to be elevated first and allow your interaction with that citizen, allow your mindset to de-escalate, if you will, and calm down. Once you figure out what's going on, okay, they're not a threat. There's no need to worry about weapons or what case may be, because you know every incident is not treated the same.
Right. And just for clarification, folks, don't get us wrong. When we say an officer, when they approach the situation, we're not necessarily saying that they approach it 0 to 100 real quick, right?
Right.
We are saying there are certain safety elements of a call, of a contact, that we are always elevated, and to make sure that safety exists first.
You know, where your head is on a swivel. Your head is on a swivel. We're swiveling. Right. We're looking. We're asking the questions: who, what, where, when, and why, to gauge the situation. That's it. To gauge.
We're looking at your movements. Right. When you ain't following what we're telling you to do, oh man, those always are big, huge red flags to officers when people are not following what they're telling them to do. You know what I'm saying? If I tell you to put your hands behind your back, put your hands behind your back. If you don't put your hands behind your back, or you simply are just refusing, red flag. Folks, you want to eliminate those red flags. And the best way to do that is to do everything they tell you to do, period.
Just to stay calm. That's why we keep preaching the acronym
That's
CALM.
right.
Complying, answer questions, listen, and move on. And that's how you get through it. And this is what it's all about, to share this knowledge with everyone. So, you shouldn't have to end up in a situation like this. And again, we understand our viewers aren't the ones out here doing these types of criminal activities, but we all know somebody that knows somebody who's out here doing these things. Right. And we're asking all of you all to share with them the acronym of CALM. Hey, listen, just comply. It doesn't have to end up like that. If you know boo-boo out here doing dirt, well, you ain't tell boo-boo, you out here doing dirt and you get caught with something on you, just go ahead and give up. We'll deal with it in court. If the officer messed up, it's going to come out in court. Then you sue the living daylights out of that department. You get your millions. You get to go on trips around the world. At least you are alive to enjoy that money and not being buried 6 feet under the ground and your family trying to enjoy that money without you. You fight your fight in the courtroom, not on the streets, not with the officers. And we're going to beat that horse until we are beyond blue in the face, Mike, because that is so important, because everybody misses that point, right? You can't get out here and just act any kind of way you want to act with law enforcement. That's not why they're out there. If they're wrong, it's going to play out in court. Again, you have the right to sue the living crap out of them if you feel like this was unjust. I'd much rather have you doing that while you're on your 2 feet
because you're alive.
Right.
That's right.
Right. So, yeah, we're going to keep saying it until, we're beyond blue in the face, because it needs to stop. This is why we're doing these videos, right? This is why we come up with the acronym of CALM, right? Because to get this out to the public. So, with that being said, we hope you find value in this video that we showed tonight, and how quick an officer has to make a decision, and how something is just not as simple as it seems. Case in point, jaywalking, and how it can escalate at the drop of a dime, and next thing you know, we have an officer involved shooting, and lives are forever more changed. It doesn't matter because the guy didn't die or not. It's a simple fact the officer had to pull that trigger, and that's something that an officer does not want to do.
That's right.
I thank God I ain't have to do it, Mike, and I know you do the same.
Sure enough.
So
now, folks, and just like this incident, as we all have seen coming up, getting ready to blow up. Well, I don't know if it's getting ready to blow up or not, Corey, but the deal in Atlanta with the woman in the park, woman and her boyfriend in the park, we probably will end up talking about that next week, next show, unless something else pops up that's more intriguing. That's a good one, because yet it's going to be another example of how something so small, violation so small, turn into something way more. You see what I'm saying? And we're gonna talk about that next week. Granted, as if nothing else pops up, it's always something, Corey, that'll pop up.
It's always something.
So I hope you guys catch us on that one, because I know it's just now coming out. A lot of stuff coming out. On the YouTube and stuff like that. So I'm just waiting to see if there's any more to come out, and we probably talk about that next week.
Yeah. So, hey, thank you all for joining us tonight. We hope you got something out of it. Leave us a comment below, your thoughts and concerns about this video or any other video Mike and I have done in the past. And share this out, please. We ask you to share this out to share the acronym of CALM, because the more we know, the better off we are if we're interacting with the law enforcement. Because there's no reason why anybody should end up hurt or killed for, something as small as jaywalking. Is no reason for it. So like, share, and subscribe to the channel if this is your first time checking us out. And we will see y'all next week as we break down another video. And so you all have a blessed weekend, and we'll see you next week.
All right.
Thank
Peace
you all
out.
for joining us.